You've been such a massive chip leader for so long. Have you let yourself think about this moment, this bracelet? What does this mean to you?
I'm just in utter shock right now. 2 weeks ago, I was just a kid who loved playing poker. And somehow, here I am, champion of the main event.
Scott Blumstein walked into the 2017 World Series of Poker with a reputation as an online poker player and walked out world champion. 7 hands tell the story. Big moves, brave calls, and one river deuce that made New Jersey jump out of its chair. John Hesp, bright jacket and brighter grin, smooth calls with 10-7 sweetened. The flop lands 2 pair for him. He starts the trap, then Scott springs something bigger. A sharp check raise sends a wave through the rail, and the chip stacks look really different by the river.
They are killing independent Jack.
Jack Sinclair cannot play. Salas, Trey, deuce of hearts.
What happened to his leather jacket? I wanted it.
Oh, wow. Brian Paccioli on the button.
I do not want this jacket.
Queen, Jack of spades.
25 big blinds with a very playable hand in position.
Paccioli amongst a group of players in the 20 million or so range.
He does not want to gamble.
Gives away to Dan Ott in the small blind. He folds to John Hesp in the big.
Oh.
And he'll call with ace-10 of hearts.
And the 2 big stacks meet again.
And Hesp in big trouble here.
You and me again, Scott.
Hesp turns top 2, and he's crushed worse. From drawn thin to drawn deader than a doornail embedded in a subterranean portal buried under the wreckage of the Titanic.
Raise.
And he announces raise. The check raise coming.
Well, he wants to raise it to $3 million, but Scott's already made it $3 million.
He's the one drawn dead, as you mentioned, Norman. $7 million. Scott Blumstein with a golden opportunity at this championship table. There is a re-raise. That is $17 million.
And now it gets serious. What a bad spot for John Hesp. On such a dry board, what can Blumstein be re-raising him with?
I'm all in.
Call.
Oh, my!
Upset, baby! Let's go! Come on!
What a monumental misstep by John Hesp.
He's dead! He's dead!
Yeah, Scott thought John had a draw. Instead, he sees John has no draw and no outs.
Scott opens with 5-3 sweetened, the kind of hand most people toss. A single card on the turn changes trash into treasure. On the river, the booth gasps. A player stands up and another chair at the table is suddenly empty.
There's the flop, and top pair for Saut with a good kicker and a backdoor flush draw. He checks to the gut shot that Blumstein picked up. And a check back from Blumstein. Turn card, and wow, just wow, Blumstein fills his straight.
That is 1 dirty 4. I didn't know they still even had 4s in the deck.
Wow, Saut checks with a pair of jacks and the king-high flush draw.
What a card for Blumstein's miserly 5 tray. So that's how guys from New Jersey make the final table.
And Scott got to make Saut pay here. $5.6 million.
4 clubs on the board. Scott keeps betting like he owns the nut flush, but he's holding nothing but nerve. Dan Ott stares him down with pocket 8s. However this pot ends, it changes the whole mood of their heads-up fight.
Blumstein with a 3-bet to $13.5 million. Polak, queen 5 of hearts, and he steps aside. Ott with a huge stack and a good hand. How big a pot does he want to play against the chip leader? There's just a call. Already $30 million in the middle. And here's the flop. And it's all clubs. Scott with a nut flush draw. Dan with the not nut flush draw. Scott Blumstein has the action on a draw over half the pot. He is relentless.
Well, the semi-bluff from Blumstein, unlikely to shed Ott with those 8s and a club draw.
His pocket 8s are the best hand right now.
And of course, his club draw is no good.
All right, so now almost 62 million in the middle. Turn card. 9 of diamonds. Ott is still best. No flushes yet.
Blumstein's got to give Ott credit for something, so he might slow down and hope to get a free one drawn to the nut flush.
And Dan Ott cutting out 20 of those oversized yellow chips worth $1 million each. The Brasilia room eerily quiet now as Ott makes that call, staying with Blumstein chip for chip.
100 million in the pot. There's only 360 million chips on the table.
Deuce of spades changes nothing. Ott is best with the eights.
Blumstein staring at squad douche. Welcome to my life, Scott.
No.
Wow, Blumstein putting Ott to the test on a bluff.
And you could just see the blood rushing out of Ott's face upon hearing all in. I thought the turn call was tough for Ott. This is beyond tough. I don't know.
He could grab control of this championship with a call, but it's an impossible call to make.
Yeah, this is a masterful power play by Blumstein. He likely puts Ott on a one-pair hand. But as you mentioned, if Dan can summon up a call here, he'd have 3/4 of the chips in play, and this whole baby would be transformed immediately.
Blumstein with a perfect no-limit wager holding the losing hand. And Ott gives it up!
Seconds later, Ott fires back with a heavy river raise. Scott doesn't blink. Chips hit the middle in a snap. The rail roars, but you'll have to watch to see who was bluffing and who was loading.
Scott and Dan mixing it up after the turn. Ott leads with a pair of 9s and an open-ender. Blumstein turned a pair of 7s with a gut shot. Ott checked, and Scott checks back. River card, and it's another 7 as Scott rivers trips.
That's another dirty river, and Blumstein, again, is skinny dipping at the right time.
And now they're here as Blumstein rivers trips. It's been checked to him again. Scott figuring out the perfect number he can extract from Dan Ott here. The big wager, almost pot size, $9.5 million. Dan Ott. Oh, with some bad timing here with a check raise to $25 million.
Ott turns his hand into a bluff.
Oh, they're not making it easy for me.
Dan repping a huge hand, hoping Scott will lay down something marginal.
Oh, it's not like a fold. Oh, man. They're not making it easy for me. It's an interesting card I have there.
Remember, Scott told Jack Sinclair, I'm not a folder.
There is the call. And Scott catches Dan Ott trying to steal the cookies.
Yeah, Blumstein gets the best of Dan Ott again.
Yet another huge pot for Blumstein as Dan Ott's every move is eclipsed by Scott.
Three players shove all in. One final card could end the main event on the spot. Hearts pound, camera zoom, and every chip in sight hangs on the dealer's last flip.
At the 2017 World Series of Poker main event, Polak on the button with Queen 10.
All in.
And he says all in for over $35 million. Ott now with King 9.
Polak with 14 bigs left.
35.
Ott with just under 20 bigs left. Maybe he might open shove with this hand, but Polak already all in. This has got to be a fold.
He does have a bigger stack than Polak.
All in.
And he says all in. Now to the chip leader, and he's got ace queen.
How much is that and how much is that?
The Blumstein could go for the gold right here.
There was a double knockout at that 98 final table, but it did not end the tournament. Could it happen here?
I think I can fold.
Polak and Ott would both be on the hook.
He makes the call, and and is favored to score the double knockout for the title.
Come on, come on. Ace queen versus queen 10 and king 9. For the bird. One time. Come on, ace queen.
Blumstein, one clean board away from a double knockout and $8.15 million.
Heads up now, Scott limps in, then fires 19 million chips on the river after making 2 pair. Does Ott pay him off or folds and save chips? The room's noise will tell you.
7-6 tray, no clubs. Bottom pair leads for Blumstein. It is checked to the pre-flop aggressor, and he checks back. Turn card, 10 of diamonds. Ott now takes the lead. Blumstein.
Oh, yeah. Now
he comes.
One street late. This stumble bum's gonna bet.
7 million.
Ott watched TV poker as a teenager and says, I hoped one day it would be me. Well, now it is with Scott Blumstein. Both these guys, moneymaker effect poker products.
And both these guys, first-timers here at the main event. An amazing moment as Ott calls the 7 million. Is a queen. Scott now with top and bottom pair to steal this one back. Third heart out there. Will that slow anybody down? No. 19 million from Blumstein.
Ott was playing $1 sit and goes as a 12-year-old. That leads right here to this very moment. Something ain't right.
That is a monster bet.
2 pair.
2 pairs good.
Queens and 3.
Blumstein back at it.
Scott Blumstein has been chip leader almost his entire final table. Can he close it out?
One of these two will collect over $8 million here tonight as the world champ. It's been Blumstein's title to lose for quite some time.
Final hand. Scott limp calls with ace-2. Ott raises ace-8. The flop and turn miss both players, but the river deals a quiet little deuce that ends the fight and sends Scott's crew jumping over the rail.
Blumstein with the weakest of aces. Just calls.
Sometimes you go an entire heads up without anyone limping on the button, and we've seen it a couple of times now already.
Ott with ace-8 of diamonds and a raise to $8 million.
Well, Scott was limping to trap Dan, except Dan with a big hand here heads up. Ott from Altoona, PA. Blumstein from Morristown, New Jersey. Center ring here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Mullen.
And Scott loves his ace. That would put Dan all in.
Out-chipped almost 5-1 and down to under 20 big blinds. This looks like a prime double-up spot for Dan Ott.
Ott with all his chips to lose, and herein lies the reason for the delay. The room suddenly silent.
Yeah, Dan Ott looks distressed.
And he can get back in it right now.
Yeah, with a double out, Blumstein's chip lead would be back down to less than 2-1.
Ott at risk. Ott with a better hand.
So what do I do with ace deuce, a limp shove, or what?
Deuce ball.
We're gonna be freaking 40 bigs deep again.
Yet another Blumstein Ott all in. Familiar territory for them.
Ott looking for his ace-8 to hang on, and the better ace is still the better hand now for Dan Ott after the flop.
I'm going to sleep.
Turn card as both competitors pace the floor here in the Brasilia room at the Rio.
Just pair the board at least.
7 of hearts, status quo. Ott a clean river card away from a key double up.
Yeah, no pair, so no chop possibilities. Only a deuce knocks out Dan Ott and brings Scott Blumstein the title.
And the river card. Oh, the 2!
I guess a deuce on the river finally changed something.
That one card didn't just give Scott the bracelet, it proved any dreamer can strike gold. A $220 online seat turned into $8.15 million in poker's biggest title. Next time you buy in, remember, one hot week can change your life.